Welcome to Learn English with Lee. I'm Lee, and I'm really happy you're here today. Many people study English for years. They learn vocabulary, they learn grammar, they watch videos and read books. But when they meet someone in real life, something strange happens. The mind suddenly becomes quiet, words disappear, and starting a simple conversation feels difficult. This moment happens to learners all around the world. Today, we are going to talk about something very important for daily life English: small talk. Small talk is the short, simple conversation we use when we meet someone, when we wait for something, or when we want to be friendly. Small talk is not deep, it is not serious, but it is very powerful because it helps people feel comfortable with each other. And of course, I'm not alone today.
Hi everyone, I'm really happy to be here again. And honestly, this topic feels very real to me. Sometimes I know English, I understand what people say, but when I need to start a conversation, I suddenly don't know what to say. My brain just becomes empty.
That is a very common feeling, Jame. Many learners feel confident when listening, but starting a conversation is another challenge. Because starting a conversation feels like standing on a small stage. For a moment, everyone is looking at you, waiting for your words.
Yes, exactly. That pressure is what makes me nervous. Sometimes I think, what if I say something strange? What if the other person thinks my English is bad?
Those thoughts are very normal, but here is something important to remember. Small talk is not about perfect English. Small talk is about being friendly. People do not expect perfect sentences. They expect a friendly moment.
That makes sense. When someone talks to me, I don't think about their grammar. I just feel happy they started the conversation.
Exactly. Communication is emotional first, grammatical second. If someone smiles and says something simple, the conversation already begins in a good way. So today, we're going to practice how to start small talk in a natural and comfortable way. Let's begin with one of the easiest and most common situations: waiting. This could be waiting in a line, waiting for a class to start, waiting at an event, or waiting at a coffee shop. These moments are perfect for small talk because both people are already in the same place doing the same thing.
Yes, that feels less awkward than walking up to someone randomly.
Exactly. So imagine you are waiting in line for coffee. Someone is standing in front of you. You want to say something friendly. The easiest sentence you can use is this: busy today, huh?
Oh, that sounds very natural.
Yes, it's short, simple, and friendly. And the other person might answer, yeah, it's really busy today. Now the conversation has started.
That feels much easier than trying to think of a long sentence.
Exactly. Short comments are the heart of small talk. Let's look at a few more examples. If you are waiting outside and the weather is nice, you can say, nice weather today. If it's raining, you can say, looks like it might rain all day. If you are waiting for a class, you can say, have you taken this class before?
Those sentences feel very simple, but they also feel real.
Yes, small talk works best when it feels natural and connected to the moment. You don't need to invent something interesting. You just notice what is happening around you.
I think many learners try too hard to find the perfect topic.
That's true, but perfect topics are not necessary. Simple observations are enough. For example, imagine you are in a language class. The class has not started yet. You can turn to the person next to you and say, is this your first time here?
That is a great question.
Yes, because it opens the door to conversation. The person might say, yes, it's my first class. Or they might say, no, I've been here for 2 months. Now you have something to continue talking about.
I see something important here. The goal is not to say something amazing. The goal is just to open the door.
Exactly. Opening the door is the hardest part. Once the conversation starts, it becomes easier. Now let's do a small role play. Imagine we are waiting for a class to start. I'll begin. Hi, is this your first time in this class?
Yeah, it is actually. I'm a little nervous.
That's normal. I felt nervous on my first day too.
Really?
Yes, but the teacher is very friendly.
That's good to hear.
See how simple that conversation is?
Yes, and it feels comfortable.
Because small talk often grows from shared feelings. If you are nervous, the other person might be also nervous. If you are curious, the other person might be also curious. These small emotional connections make conversations easier.
I think many learners try too hard to find the perfect topic.
That's true, but perfect topics are not necessary. Simple observations are enough. For example, imagine you are in a language class. The class has not started yet. You can turn to the person next to you and say, "Is this your first time here?"
That is a great question.
Yes, because it opens the door to conversation. The person might say, "Yes, it's my first class." Or they might say, "No, I've been here for 2 months." Now you have something to continue talking about.
I see something important here. The goal is not to say something amazing. The goal is just to open the door.
Exactly. Opening the door is the hardest part. Once the conversation starts, it becomes easier. Now let's do a small role play. Imagine we are waiting for a class to start. I'll begin. Hi, is this your first time in this class?
Yeah, it is actually. I'm a little nervous.
That's normal. I felt nervous on my first day too.
Really?
Yes, but the teacher is very friendly.
That's good to hear.
See how simple that conversation is?
Yes, and it feels comfortable.
Because small talk often grows from shared feelings. If you are nervous, the other person might be also nervous. If you are curious, the other person might be also curious. These small emotional connections make conversations easier.
I think many learners try too hard to find the perfect topic.
That's true, but perfect topics are not necessary. Simple observations are enough. For example, imagine you are in a language class. The class has not started yet. You can turn to the person next to you and say, "Is this your first time here?"
That is a great question.
Yes, because it opens the door to conversation. The person might say, "Yes, it's my first class." Or they might say, "No, I've been here for 2 months." Now you have something to continue talking about.
I see something important here. The goal is not to say something amazing. The goal is just to open the door.
Exactly. Opening the door is the hardest part. Once the conversation starts, it becomes easier. Now let's do a small role play. Imagine we are waiting for a class to start. I'll begin. Hi, is this your first time in this class?
Yeah, it is actually. I'm a little nervous.
That's normal. I felt nervous on my first day too.
Really?
Yes, but the teacher is very friendly.
That's good to hear.
See how simple that conversation is?
Yes, and it feels comfortable.
Because small talk often grows from shared feelings. If you are nervous, the other person might be also nervous. If you are curious, the other person might be also curious. These small emotional connections make conversations easier.
I think many learners try too hard to find the perfect topic.
That's true, but perfect topics are not necessary. Simple observations are enough. For example, imagine you are in a language class. The class has not started yet. You can turn to the person next to you and say, "Is this your first time here?"
That is a great question.
Yes, because it opens the door to conversation. The person might say, "Yes, it's my first class." Or they might say, "No, I've been here for 2 months." Now you have something to continue talking about.
I see something important here. The goal is not to say something amazing. The goal is just to open the door.
Exactly. Opening the door is the hardest part. Once the conversation starts, it becomes easier. Now let's do a small role play. Imagine we are waiting for a class to start. I'll begin. Hi, is this your first time in this class?
Yeah, it is actually. I'm a little nervous.
That's normal. I felt nervous on my first day too.
Really?
Yes, but the teacher is very friendly.
That's baby here.
See how simple that conversation is?
Yes, and it feels comfortable.
Because small talk often grows from shared feelings. If you are nervous, the other person might be also nervous. If you are curious, the other person might be also curious. These small emotional connections make conversations easier.
I think many learners try too hard to find the perfect topic.
That's true, but perfect topics are not necessary. Simple observations are enough. For example, imagine you are in a language class. The class has not started yet. You can turn to the person next to you and say, "Is this your first time here?"
That is a great question.
Yes, because it opens the door to conversation. The person might say, "Yes, it's my first."
You know, something interesting happens to me sometimes. I start a conversation, everything feels okay for a moment, and then suddenly my mind becomes empty again. It's like I used all my English in the first sentence.
That happens to many learners. Starting the conversation takes courage, but keeping the conversation going is another skill. The good news is that you don't need complicated ideas to continue a conversation. In fact, most conversations grow from very small reactions.
Small reactions?
Yes, simple things like showing interest, asking one small question, or repeating something the other person said. Let's imagine a small conversation. Someone says, "I moved here last year." You can respond in a very simple way. "Oh, really? How do you like it here?"
That feels natural.
Yes, because you are not changing the topic. You are just following the same idea. This is one of the easiest ways to continue a conversation. Listen carefully, then ask one small question about what the person just said.
So instead of thinking about a new topic, I just stay with the same one?
Exactly. Think of conversation like a small river. You follow the flow instead of jumping somewhere else. Let's try a small example. I'll say a sentence, and you continue the conversation. I started learning English 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Why did you start learning English?
Perfect. That question continues the same topic. Now I'll answer. I started learning because I wanted to travel.
That's interesting. Where do you want to travel?
Excellent. See how the conversation continues naturally?
Yes, it feels like building steps one by one.
Exactly. Conversations are built step by step. Now, let's talk about another important tool for conversations, showing interest. When people talk, they want to feel heard. Even very small responses can show that you are listening. For example, you can say, "Really? That's interesting. Oh, wow. I see."
Those are very short, but they feel very natural.
Yes, these are called reaction phrases. They are very common in real conversations. Let's try another short role play. I just started a new job last week.
Oh, really? What kind of job?
I'm working at a marketing company.
That's interesting.
Notice something important here. You are not trying to sound impressive. You are simply being curious. Curiosity is one of the most powerful tools in communication.
That's true. When someone asks me questions about my life, I feel more comfortable talking.
Exactly. Good conversation often comes from simple curiosity. Now, let's talk about something many learners worry about: silence.
Yes, that uncomfortable silence.
Yes, that moment when both people stop talking and no one knows what to say next. But silence is actually very normal in conversation. Even native speakers experience it. The important thing is not to panic.
That's hard sometimes.
It can feel uncomfortable, but you can use a simple trick. If silence appears, you can return to a safe topic. Safe topics include things like the place you are in, the weather, the event you are attending, or the activity you are doing. For example, if you are at a workshop, you can say, "This workshop is interesting," or "I didn't expect so many people here."
That feels very easy to say.
Yes, and simple comments often restart the conversation. Now, let's imagine a situation. You are at a language meetup event. You meet someone new. The conversation starts well, but after a minute, there is silence. You could say, "So, how long have you been learning English?"
That's a great question for a language meetup.
Yes, because it connects to the situation. Let's do another role play. Hi, I'm Lee.
Hi, Lee. I'm Jame. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
How long have you been learning English?
About 3 years now.
That's great. Do you practice every day?
Yes, I try to.
That conversation feels smooth.
Because you are using simple questions that are connected to the moment. Now I want to talk about something emotional that many learners worry about: fear of judgment.
Yes, that fear is very real. Sometimes when I speak English, I worry that people will think my English sounds strange.
That fear is very common, but here is something important to remember. Most people are not judging you. Most people are simply listening and responding, and many people respect someone who speaks another language.
That's true. When I meet someone who speaks 2 or 3 languages, I feel impressed.
Exactly. Speaking another language is not something to feel embarrassed about. It is something to feel proud of. Even if your English is not perfect, you are doing something brave. You are communicating across cultures.
When you say it like that, it feels more positive.
Yes, changing your perspective can change your confidence. Instead of thinking, "My English is not good," try thinking, "I am learning and improving." Instead of thinking, "People will judge me," try thinking, "People will understand me."
That feels much healthier.
And confidence grows from many small, successful moments. Each conversation, even a short one, builds your experience.
So even small conversations matter.
Very much. Let's give our listeners another speaking practice. If you are listening, repeat these sentences slowly. Really?
Really?
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
How long have you been learning English?
How long have you been learning English?
Why did you start learning English?
Why did you start learning English?
Great. These small phrases help conversations grow naturally.
I'm starting to see a pattern.
What pattern?
Good conversation is not about big vocabulary. It's about small reactions and simple questions.
Encouraging, exactly. And when you combine curiosity, simple questions, and relaxed reactions, conversations become much easier.
I think listeners will feel more confident after practicing these.
I hope so, because speaking English is not about perfection, it is about connection.
You know, Lee, something else happens to me sometimes. When someone asks me a question in English, I understand the question, but I still panic a little before answering.
That's a very common experience. Many learners understand English well, but answering quickly can feel stressful. Your brain is doing two things at the same time. First, you understand the question. Second, you try to build the answer in English. That second step can take a little time.
Yes, that's exactly how it feels. I understand the question, but I need a few seconds to think.
And that is completely normal. Even native speakers pause to think sometimes. The key is learning how to buy yourself a little time.
Buy time?
Yes, small phrases can give your brain a moment to prepare the answer. These phrases are very common in natural conversation. For example, "Let me think." "That's a good question." "Well,"
Oh, I hear people say those all the time.
exactly. These phrases are not just words, they are tools. They help the speaker slow down and organize their thoughts. Let's imagine someone asks you a question. "Why are you learning English?" Instead of answering immediately, you could say, "Well, that's a good question." Answering, "I want to travel more."
That feels much more comfortable.
Yes, because you give your brain time. Let's try another one. If someone asks, "What do you like to do in your free time?" You could start with, let me think." Then answer, "I like reading and watching movies."
I like that. It sounds very natural.
Because it is natural. People pause and think during conversations all the time. Now let's talk about another daily life situation. Many learners nervous phone calls.
Oh yes, phone calls are scary.
Many people feel the same way. When you talk on the phone, you cannot see the other person's face. That makes communication a little harder.
Yes, because facial expressions help us understand.
Exactly. But there are still simple ways to manage phone conversations. First, let's talk about answering the phone. A simple and natural way is, hello? Or, hello, this is Jame.
That feels easy enough.
Yes, and if you don't understand something during the call, you can use the same rescue phrases we practiced earlier. For example, sorry, could you repeat that? Or, the connection is a little bad. Could you say that again?
That sounds very polite.
Yes, politeness is important in phone conversations. Let's try a short role play. I will call you. Hello, is this Jame?
Yes, this is Jame.
Hi, Jame. This is Lee.
Hi, Lee.
I wanted to ask if you are coming to the meeting tomorrow.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Of course. I wanted to ask if you are coming to the meeting tomorrow.
Oh, yes, I'll be there.
Great. See you tomorrow.
See you.
That conversation is short but clear.
Yes, and the rescue phrase helped me stay calm.
Exactly. Now let's talk about another daily life situation, asking for help. This could happen in a store, at a train station, or in a new city. Many learners feel shy asking strangers for help.
Yes, because I don't want to bother people.
That's understandable, but most people are happy to help if you ask politely. The most useful phrase here is, excuse me. This phrase politely gets someone's attention. For example, excuse me, can you help me?
That sounds very polite.
Yes, then you can ask your question. For example, excuse me, where is the restroom? Or, excuse me, how can I get to the train station?
These questions are very useful for travel.
Exactly. Let's try a role play. Imagine you're in a new city and you need directions. Excuse me, can you help me?
Sure.
How can I get to the train station?
Go straight for 2 blocks, then turn left.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Very simple and very useful.
I noticed something again. Most of these conversations use very basic vocabulary.
Yes, daily English often uses simple words. Confidence does not come from using difficult vocabulary. Confidence comes from using simple language comfortably.
That's encouraging.
Now let's talk about another emotional challenge in conversations, feeling embarrassed after making a mistake.
Yes, that feeling stays in your mind sometimes.
It really can. Maybe you say the wrong word or you pronounce something incorrectly. In that moment, you might feel embarrassed. But here's something important. Mistakes are normal in language learning. In fact, mistakes are one of the fastest ways to improve.
That's interesting.
Yes, when you make a mistake, your brain learns something new. The important thing is not to stop speaking. You can simply correct yourself. For example, I went to the beach yesterday. Sorry, I mean last weekend.
Oh, that sounds very natural.
Yes, correcting yourself is normal in conversation. You don't need to apologize many times. Just correct the sentence and continue.
That feels much less stressful.
Exactly. Now let's do another speaking practice for our listeners. Repeat these sentences after us. Well,
Well,
let me think.
let me think.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Excuse me, can you help me?
Excuse me, can you help me?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Great. These phrases help you manage real conversations. They give you time, clarity, and confidence.
I think many learners will feel relieved hearing this.
I hope so, because speaking English is not about speaking fast. It's about speaking clearly and calmly.
And maybe being a little patient with yourself.
Yes, patience is one of the most important parts of learning any language, and every conversation you have, even a small one, helps you grow.
Lee, something else happens to me in conversations. Sometimes I understand everything the other person says, but when it's my turn to speak, I suddenly worry that my answer is too short. I feel like maybe I should say more.
That's a very interesting point. Many learners feel that pressure. They think a good speaker must give long answers. But in real conversations, short answers are very common. In fact, natural conversation often moves back and forth with small pieces of information.
So it's okay if my answer is short?
Yes, completely okay. But there is a helpful trick if you want to sound a little more natural. You can add one extra detail. For example, imagine someone asks, "Where are you from?" A short answer could be, "I'm from Cambodia." That is correct and clear, but you could add one small detail. "I'm from Cambodia. I live in Phnom Penh."
Ah, that makes the answer feel fuller.
Exactly. Just one extra piece of information makes the conversation easier to continue. Let's try another example. Someone asks, "What do you do?" You could say, "I'm a student." That is perfectly fine. But you could add a little more. "I'm a student. I'm studying business."
That feels much more natural.
Yes, and it also helps the other person continue the conversation. They might ask, "Oh, really? What part of business are you studying?"
So giving one extra detail creates a new direction for the conversation.
Exactly. Conversation is like building small bridges. Every small detail helps the other person walk a little further into the conversation. Now, let's talk about another situation many learners experience: group conversations.
Yes, group conversations can be very intimidating.
They can be. When several people are speaking, the conversation moves faster. People sometimes interrupt each other, laugh together, and change topics quickly.
Sometimes I feel like I can't find the right moment to speak.
That's a common feeling, but there are some simple ways to join a group conversation. First, listen carefully. Second, wait for a small pause. Third, add a short comment or reaction. For example, imagine people are talking about travel. Someone says, "I visited Japan last year." You could join the conversation by saying, "Oh, really? How was it?"
That feels easy.
Yes, you are not changing the topic. You are simply joining the conversation. Another way to join is by sharing a small experience. For example, "I've always wanted to visit Japan."
That sounds natural too.
Yes, because it connects to the topic. Let's imagine a small group conversation. I'll start. "I traveled to Thailand last year. The food was amazing."
Oh, really? What was your favorite dish?
Probably pad thai.
I've heard pad thai is very good.
See how easy that was?
Yes, I didn't need to say something complicated.
Exactly. Joining a conversation often begins with simple curiosity. Now, let's talk about another emotional challenge: comparing yourself to others.
Yes, that happens a lot. Sometimes I hear someone speak English very fluently, and I start thinking my English is not good enough.
That feeling is very common in language learning, but comparing yourself to others can sometimes hurt your confidence. Everyone learns at a different speed. Everyone has a different background. Some people started learning English earlier. Some people practice more often. Some people live in English-speaking environments.
That's true.
So the most helpful comparison is not with other people. The best comparison is with your past self. Think about your English 6 months ago. Think about your English 1 year ago.
When I think about it like that, I can see improvement.
Exactly. Language learning is a long journey. Small progress every day becomes big progress over time.
That makes the journey feel more positive.
Good. Now let's talk about something that can help learners feel more confident: preparation.
Preparation?
Yes, before certain situations, you can prepare a few sentences in your mind. For example, imagine you are going to a language meetup. You might prepare a few simple introductions. For example, "Hi, I'm Jame. I'm learning English because I want to travel. I enjoy meeting new people."
That sounds helpful.
Yes, preparation reduces stress because your brain already has a starting point. But remember, preparation is only the beginning. After the first few sentences, the conversation will become more natural.
So preparation helps start the engine.
Exactly. It helps the conversation begin. Now let's do another speaking practice. If you are listening, repeat these sentences after us. "I'm from Cambodia."
I'm from Cambodia.
"I live in Phnom Penh."
I live in Phnom Penh.
"I'm a student."
I'm a student.
"I'm studying business."
I'm studying business.
"I've always wanted to visit Japan."
I've always wanted to visit Japan.
Very good. These sentences may seem simple, but they are very useful in real conversations.
I noticed something again.
What do you notice?
Most good conversations are built from simple sentences connected together.
Exactly. Simple sentences create clear communication, and clear communication creates confidence. I feel like listeners will start noticing small improvements after practicing these patterns. I believe so, because the more you practice small conversations, the more natural speaking will feel, and little by little, the fear of speaking becomes smaller.
You know, Lee, after talking about all these situations today, I realized something. Speaking English is not really about knowing thousands of words. It's more about having the courage to start small conversations. Thinking for a moment?
That's a beautiful realization, Jame. Many learners believe they must reach a high level before they can speak comfortably. But real communication often begins with very simple language. A greeting, a short question, a small reaction. These simple moments are the foundation of conversation.
Yes, and when we look back at the examples today, most of them used very simple sentences.
Exactly. Let's think about the situations we discussed today. Starting small talk while waiting, joining a conversation with a simple question, buying time with phrases like, "let me think," asking for help politely, giving short answers and adding one small detail. All of these skills use very basic English.
That makes speaking feel much less scary.
Gently tone. That is the goal. Language learning should not feel like climbing a mountain every day. It should feel like taking small steps forward. Every conversation you have is one step. Even a 10-second conversation is a step forward.
I like that idea. Sometimes learners think a conversation must be long to be meaningful.
But even a short exchange matters. For example, "Good morning." "Good morning. How are you?" "I'm good, thank you." That is already communication. And every time you speak, your brain becomes more comfortable with the language.
It's like training a muscle.
Exactly. The more you use a muscle, the stronger it becomes. Speaking works the same way. The more you speak, the more natural it feels.
I think many listeners needed to hear that today.
I hope so, because confidence is not something you suddenly receive one day. Confidence grows slowly through experience. One conversation, then another, then another.
Lee, can I ask something personal?
Of course.
When you were learning languages, did you ever feel nervous speaking?
Yes, of course. Even language teachers feel nervous sometimes. When I was learning a new language, I remember standing in a cafe trying to order a drink. I practiced the sentence in my head many times, but when the moment came, my voice still felt a little shaky.
That's comforting to hear.
Yes, because nervousness is a natural part of learning. But each time I spoke, the next conversation felt easier. That's why practice is so powerful.
So the key is not avoiding those moments.
Exactly. The key is stepping into those moments, even if your voice feels a little uncertain, even if your sentence is not perfect, even if you need to pause and think.
Because every time we speak, we gain experience.
Yes, and experience slowly turns into confidence. Now, before we finish today's episode, let's do one final speaking practice together. If you are listening, repeat these sentences slowly and clearly. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Is this your first time here?
Is this your first time here?
Excuse me, can you help me?
Excuse me, can you help me?
Let me think.
Let me think.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Great job. These sentences are simple, but they are powerful tools for real conversations.
And practicing them out loud helps build confidence.
Exactly. So if you are listening today, here's a small challenge for you. Tomorrow, try to use one English sentence in a real situation. Just one. Maybe you greet someone. Maybe you ask a simple question. Maybe you start a small conversation. One sentence is enough.
Because one sentence can start a conversation.
Smiling tone. And one conversation can change how you feel about speaking English.
I really enjoyed today's discussion.
Me too. And to everyone listening, thank you for spending this time with us. We hope today's conversation helped you feel a little more confident and a little less afraid of speaking English.
Remember, your English does not need to be perfect.
It only needs to be brave enough to begin. Thank you for listening to Learn English with Lee. We're very glad you're here learning with us, and we hope to speak with you again soon.